I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Looks like it's going to be a great evening. So we're going to start right away. Ms. Fields, do you have anything you'd like to say first?
I would happily begin. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Anyone who is watching on the live stream at home, if you have any questions, our communications email will be monitored all evening long. Their address is communications@nccsk12.org. So please feel free to add a question, and after we take the board's questions, we'll take questions from our community, both the people who are here as well as people who may be watching at home. We always start by focusing on our mission statement. Everything we do in our budget, we try very hard to align with our mission statement. Our mission statement centers on what we want to provide for our students, which is opportunity, engaging work, relevant work, and work that challenges them so that they can become the best version of themselves possible. That includes academic growth as well as their social and emotional well-being. And then the other part concerns all of us in this community who work with our students, that we want to be part of a learning community, that we're always learning and growing and improving so that we can provide that high quality, relevant, and equitable education for all of our students. Loosely translated, that means what we did yesterday may not be what's right for today and may not be what's right for tomorrow. So we want to constantly be growing and evolving to best meet the needs of the students and families in front of us. So it was a wonderful weekend here in North Colony last weekend. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you see Friday night. Friday night was a great game at Hudson Valley. Our girls basketball team, won the regional championship. Not to editorialize, but I'm not the person who knows everything in the world about basketball, but I could tell that they had a very easy win. It was delightful. They will play again on Thursday afternoon at 4:15. That was on Friday night. It was a great game and really wonderful to see. A little fun fact, the coach from the opposing team had a red bedazzled, for lack of a better word, jacket, which was covered in sequins. And our coach and our team found out that she was going to have this very bedazzled jacket. So during the course of the day, Friday, students in facts class bedazzled a bison. And then our coach always wears a bison blue suit, and they sewed the bedazzled bison onto the back of her jacket so that when she went there, she had the bedazzled bison so that she could show up just like the coach did. So then our team really showed up. So that was a wonderful night. Friday night, I had a ticket for the musical Friday night. They were kind enough to let me switch it to Saturday night so I could get to the game on Friday. Saturday on the right-hand side, that is those are two pictures from the middle school's production of The Descendants, which was their musical. I am old enough to say that I didn't know what The Descendants was because it's a newer Disney movie. So I went kind of like, I have no idea what the story is about. And so the children in the musical are all descendants of either villains or heroes from previous Disney movies. And it was about how could we all get along? How can we not label each other villains or heroes, but just be people and meet? So it had, I thought, a beautiful message. Someone in the audience, Mrs. Keogh, might have called me out and was like, "Are you crying at this song right now?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." Yes, you are right. She knows me too well. It was beautiful. But I put these up here tonight because it takes tremendous work. We all know that. The coaches who work with our team, the advisors who work with our theater, but it also takes work behind the scenes. You know, we could not get to all of the games or competitions or matches that we go to if we didn't have a transportation department who was willing to work hand in glove with our athletics department to make sure our kids get there and have these opportunities. We could not have musicals like these. I mean, there was not a single seat left in the auditorium. There was a lot going on during concession. The custodians were there to help, the teams that are there to support. So all of this work that is done by our kids, we can easily forget that sometimes behind the scenes, all these departments that you see here tonight are doing the work that also make this possible. So it was a wonderful weekend for our students. So thanks to everybody who's involved. It just was one of those nights one of those weekends where you feel really good about what we're able to do. As we think about our budget process, we want to be forward thinking. We want to be student centered. We want to prioritize equity and think about what can we do for each and every child. Every child is different. They have different interests, wants, desires, and needs. How are we thinking about our budget so that we can continue to foster growth and development for all children, and that we're considering their overall well-being? That it's not just about getting the best test scores, it's not just about getting the most credits, but it's about developing to your fullest potential so that when you leave North Colony, you feel really good about who you are, what you've accomplished, and what you might want to do for your next steps. So tonight, I'm very happy to let you know that we're going to be hearing from 3 of our instructional support administrators. Mr. Kraft is going to come up and talk to you about the budget this year for facilities and custodial departments. Claudine Beck is going to come up to talk to you about the transportation department and the work we're doing there. And Julie Scriven is going to come up and talk to you about our informational technology department and our budgetary requests this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kraft to start with facilities. Thank you, sir. Yes.
I used to worry about a joke and Tiffany usually fix it.
I'm eager. I'm eager.
Wasn't unprepared, sorry. Usually riddles me from the crowd. We kind of actually combined some of the slides this year, so I'm not doing 2 separate departments. So makes it a little quicker and easier to see. You're not going to show you square footage twice, I don't think. So for the basic layout of how our department is now, there's a director. We have assistant director for maintenance, assistant director for custodial, a secretary for each department, 19 maintenance staff members, and 40 full-time custodial staff members. About 60 employees on the people departments. Decent size. This is kind of like a cheat sheet I have of my own that I did after the last project. Michigan, that just kind of hedged when people say, how old is the building? I got it. How many square feet of the building? So total, we're like over 1 million square feet building total. And, you look at some of the ages there, 1953, 1955, 1957. Some of the pipes are still original in those buildings and that type of stuff. So normally 1957 building, replace all that right now, but we're still working in certain sections of those buildings, so that's the one thing to deal with. And these are just some data. There's over 30 boilers, 75 rooftop heating and air conditioning units, over 3,000 doors with locks and hardware, over 4,000 plumbing fixtures, 15,000 light bulbs. Might be going down actually because of these now. Over 30,000 electrical fixtures, 284 acres of properties, 8 playgrounds, 20 parking lots, 21, twice, we really do. And over 5 miles of fencing. And these are just as we lay out the budget, give you an idea of some things that cost us every year. Air filters about $90,000, $87,000 a year. Whiteboards, we do almost $13,000 with whiteboards. A lot of that is actually supporting Julie with the TVs, because when we redo them, we do the center setup like that is, and put whiteboards in. Door hardware, right around $34,000. Grounds, we did this last year. We saved every receipt that ground spent, $117,000 in airport skills. Vehicle maintenance, we got it up 2 years in a row, it's right around $30,000. And we are spending parts that all guys fix our trucks. Paper towel was included, it was $18,409. Cleaning chemicals just about $50,000. So it's just, that's why the numbers are kind of where they are. Or so we have, this is just for maintenance. So we have 20 vehicles total. 7 commercial mowers, 6 equipment trailers, 3 field tractors, 2 backhoes. And then we have what we call specialized equipment, it's just grounds equipment for the field, it's about 25 pieces of that as well. This is our vehicle replacement plan. Show you how we go about thinking about it. And we always get input from Paul on this as well, because sometimes the age of the vehicle doesn't necessarily mean it's the worst vehicle we have. But for the most part, really going through the vehicles by age. There's one 2009 now. For this year, 2012 that we're looking for to replace this year. And after that, there's a 2011. I try to plan out 2 per year. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. It all depends how we go with the budget. Try to keep it up and running. And then the custodial department has 4 vehicles, or 3 vehicles, sorry, numbered up to 4. CS1, that's off the road, we took that off the road. We're gonna pass the inspection again this year, and once we're gonna placement for it. CS3 is about 14 F-150, it's really in great shape. I put it out there for replacement 28, 29, so it's gonna keep on moving out. Replace that yet. And then the CS4, which is the courier van, that's basically brand new. 2019, that's excellent. This is a budget request, equipment budget request. UF-350s, with plows on them, and the cabs on the back, storage. A Kubota utility vehicle with a plow and salter. That's really high school. We have one now. We only have one. It's getting older. Starts fail. When it fails, that's how we do all the sidewalks at the middle school, and high school. So that's what I thought there. I used to have another chart with all those pieces of equipment on it. For 3 years, I didn't ask for a piece of equipment, so I stopped taking the chart up there. We do a good job of maintaining that equipment. It doesn't wear out like the trucks. And then the mechanical equipment replacements for 25,000. That's something we started doing a few years ago, and it really did all the rooftop units, air conditioning heating units. We have things that fail, we have things that are 20 years old, that it allows us to budget to replace them as we go. Make sure the students and staff have what they need. These are maintenance projects, these are yearly projects that are included in our budget. Just a reminder, we don't really lay them out every year for the amount, but playground mulch at all the playground at the elementary school. Window shade replacements, we actually reduced that this year, made it. Me and Mark started that 6 years ago, I think, with Scott Booth. Doing like 25, 30,000 a year, because we were, whole district needed to be replaced. We made it around, and now I think we dropped it to 15, if I'm right, because we're just gonna do maintenance now, I think the last one's got to be something that the idea was to get it to that point. Getting everything done and just placing sections as we have to, so we don't fall behind again. Ceiling tower replacement, parking lot striping on South Grounds done, and then room and maintenance as needed. We do one or twice a year, we do our own. They go down there, we do a little payroll office very nicely. Sorry to show that to be a nice thing. That's going to be food services for a little bit. These are things that we have planned for this summer coming up. Flagpoles, we want to replace a flagpole out in Coates Ferry. Southgate, Blue Creek last year, their own staff, very nice staff, and basically all need to be done. 2 years a good number, and Southgate and Blue Creek would tip them, so it goes first. And Blue Creek from 1, we'd like to bait that. Or kind of up out of it. It has a bathroom. They have a special needs student that we should move the walls around, it'd be nice, make them a little bigger. So if we can accomplish that, student can use it. With the asbestos on the floor, we just can't do that. And water meter data collection. I'm excited about this one. Facilities director, right? But anyways, last year Latham Water said replace all your old meters, they all have to be transponders so we can drive around. They caught us off guard because it was kind of mid-year after the budget, but we got through it. What that allows us to do now is we can install another transponder that's ours, they won't touch Latham Waters. And then we can, by software, get Wi-Fi, bring it back, and actually tell you what we're water. So if we have an issue with a building, we can track it, we can know something's going on. Currently, every 6 months, when they read our water meters, it takes another month or two to actually get the bill. And someone says, what happened back in July? And I'm like, I don't know. Get rained. I really don't have a way to tell you, but we can actually get daily reports that, do monthly reports and show 5-year history of what we're going to do on that tree nice instead of just trying to remember that it rained a lot or didn't rain, so we irrigated. So. Then paving repairs, did Southgate last year. That's something we're trying to keep going. And the inner edge of the middle school loop. Johnson credit. John Myers said it wasn't wide enough when we built it, we measured it, and it's DOT, and everyone drives around the corner and we're burning out, so we're gonna extend it, make it about 2 feet wider for John. That way, because the one edge, the inside edge is crumbling, start losing the whole road, we don't do 6%. That would be nice to get before it falls apart. Resurfacing tennis courts. The new tennis courts are 7 years old. So they just put them in, I know.
Yeah.
So they actually went in, the very first thing that went in and got used in the project.
Yeah.
So before the building was done and anything else, so they are 7 years old. It's time to do resurfacing. Tennis coach asked for it. We actually got a letter from the original installer letting us know that it was time to do it. So it's all, we're gonna do 88,000 resurfacing all at once. We're gonna try to do 1/2 this year, 1/2 next year, just to keep the budget moving. So, and they're actually getting, not only they get worn down, they start getting slick. They start slipping out and stuff, so. And then we're gonna do some improvements to the catering bathrooms in high school, which is that's just by our special needs students in catering. They have a couple students coming up from middle school who have different needs than we've used in the past, but he's changing the needs of that room and making it better. So they got a better changing table, a shower for someone that needs a shower. We're just gonna do that as a, it's not an expensive thing, it's just something we're gonna do. And then, of course, project support, it's a lot of time again, the project, capital project level, so. Okay, so, department equipment budget request. There are 48,000. We are buying new walk behind floor machines, about Tomcats. About 20,000, less expensive than the other models we've been buying, but they're pretty nice. They're square, so they can get the corners, and they have extra weight added to the pipe pressure. It really saves time when they're taking up the wax summer floors. And then district-wide equipment for the elementary schools. We're asking for 2 burnishers, tile the floors, pay back all of them bathroom cleaner. We got one of those at the middle school and high school, but last year they were excellent. I could really just pressure wash the bathroom. And then for the custodial at the annex, want to get a pallet jack stacker instead of a pallet jack, forklift, sorry. Forklifts is the only replacement, so it's about $5,000. And with the equipment, what we're trying to do is, as with everything else, at the payback and everything else, middle school pretty much has all the equipment for that. High school has all the equipment. The elementary schools share equipment. And some of those things we found we only have one. So the carbon extractor goes around 6 schools. So let's have, we don't want to have 6 of them, but maybe 2, 3 to have hand, different pieces of equipment, so they don't have to, they can actually plan their cleaning as they should and be a little more efficient. They can use their breaks and stuff instead of not thinking they can borrow it. That's the idea behind that. Then the capital project update. Hey, I'm really happy. It's we're starting off, but like, project management is great, contractors are doing good. We had a couple things here and there with scheduling, but really, nothing major yet, everything's been pretty smooth, so. That is the back of Jamie right there. I think it's dug up even more now. And currently we're working in the cafeteria. We're able to break and we'll paint the bathrooms behind the security desk. And what we call the C and D bathrooms up on the second floor. And the food services currently are that whole section right there. And they will be removing ceilings and jailing. So they can do the geothermal inside. And they will start the wells outside as well. And then additionally, the foundation going shortly. They were thinking it would break for that. It's kind of delaying just because the contractors are realizing that there's a few more steps, coordination that they're gonna make happen. So they don't bury somebody and not let them get their job done. And they're also doing the road now back down the road, so. May, we start the track, so we're right after the track season's over, start the track, get that done. So it's ready for football season, we got the fall sports, soccer. In June, Sean front loaded all his games that were planned lower up in the boys, so they're early in the year. And then they're all gonna be away games at the end, so we'll actually start that in June and make sure that's ready to open up for next fall sports as well. Just inside pictures, the one on the right is where the kitchen actually used to be. And one on the left was basically cafeteria. The steel on this one on the left, that was what that little hole in the wall, they had a little serving area there, so it's pretty cool, it's wide open now. Any questions?
I should just mention that Mr. Dardanelle is our budget chair, just so that, everyone knows that. And she handled all the questions. Thank you. You're welcome. Do you have any questions? No, I don't have one. I actually have one for Brian. Brian, how long have you been here in North County?
This is covered by ninth year.
Really?
Yes.
Now it's longer than me. I mean, and that's a good thing. I don't mean that in a bad thing, but that's a good thing.
And if I can say, one of the things I think you see through the presentation is things that Brian has brought with him since he's come is, number one, this whole idea of a replacement cycle. We always had it for major equipment, but even down to something like window blinds, which like you saw on those things, like how much air filters cost. The cost of doing business is significant. So to have a plan to go about so things don't deteriorate to such a place that now we're really paying a premium. So staying on top of things, coming up with a replacement cycle, number one. Number two, Brian and his team, the things that our maintenance department can do, abating that room down there by themselves without having to bring in an outside company, handling some of the bathrooms so that not everything has to be contractors' work. All of that while maintaining everything else to keep this district functioning is really amazing. And I would agree with Brian's assessment that the capital project is off to a good start. I'm very happy with Schoolhouse being our project managers, very happy with their communication with us and the way things are going. But I would also say we would be remiss if we didn't say that we have the best asset in town in that they cannot pull anything over on Brian Craft. Like, he just knows these buildings, he knows the ground, he knows when they're trying to pull a fast one, and that just helps us because he's constantly looking, checking, and keeping them honest, which only helps the project to go better while still maintaining everything so we can have fully functioning facilities.
We all know, everyone of us on the board knows. She's doing an outstanding job for us, so we really appreciate it.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. No, I don't have any.
Yes, the vehicle replacement plan slide, I don't know if you want to go to that or not. You've got the T81, the 2014 truck listed twice. Does that just mean you don't know whether you're gonna need to replace it next year or the year after?
Did I?
Not on that one there, it's both in 28, the 27, 28, and the 28, 29.
That's because, yeah, I just never get my slide perfectly.
And I had it perfect.
Good catch.
Okay.
You good? Any other questions from the board?
Oh, wait, one more.
Oh, more?
The building condition survey that's coming up.
Yeah.
Nothing that we anticipate from that is in this budget. So, right.
We have
We have a couple
money to
years.
pay for it in the upcoming budget, but not in the current budget.
Okay,
Re-identifying what we already know is wrong.
right.
And, you know, it's not a stop.
Okay. But this year, that'll be in next year's.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'm done.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our community here or online? Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
So we hear to hear your report. Productive.
Thank you.
And we provide pictures. Yes, we do like photos.
Well,
I do
wait till you
too.
see what Claudine's gonna say.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome, Claudine.
Welcome to-
I would just like to give Claudine and the entire transportation department, two of her members are here, and Claudine, I know you'll introduce. They did an outstanding job this morning and afternoon. It is not easy to have our major route into our two biggest schools closed. And rerouting all of our buses, our bus traffic, and adjusting in real time when everyone in the world could not find a good route anywhere in Latham this morning. And level-headed and kept the bus drivers in even though it was a stressful morning. So thank you to the entire team. And I know it was a team effort, but Claudine, thank you. I keep saying the Lebanon had something up their sleeves today, and you responded beautifully, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
So welcome to the wonderful world of transportation. Anyway, so we're made up of a director, two assistant directors. One of them is here, Yanni Rodriguez is here with us today. We have two dispatchers, a driver trainer, a keyboard specialist is here, fleet maintenance supervisor, who's also here, all that group. 6 mechanics. We do have one unfilled position, mechanic position. We have 49 full-time drivers. We started school short 9 full-time drivers, and we are currently only have 4 full-time positions open. And after the next board meeting, we will fill another one of those positions. So I expect by the end of the year that we should be fully staffed and have all of our runs covered by drivers. Our aides, we have 16 aides, and we are fully staffed there as well. So. Here is a video.
Our school needs more heroes.
Fear not, a true hero is on the way.
Meet the everyday hero, our school bus driver. They keep our kids safe, start mornings with a smile, and drive the coolest vehicle in town.
No kid needed, just a caring heart and a little training.
Which we pay for.
We offer flexible hours, paid training, retirement, and a big impact on children's lives.
School bus.
So we did that a couple of months ago, and thank you to Ashley for all the help creating that video, and also to Julie for recruitment efforts. Since the video has gone out, we've had a big influx in interest in school bus driving, so it's helped us a lot.
And that is by far like our best ratio with positions filled and knowing that we have more people in the pipeline, they've just gotta get through their training, so that is amazing, good job.
So we're expected to do about 850,000 miles this year. We are transporting over 6,000 public school students on 56 home-to-school runs. We have 5 contracted routes this year, 15 special ed runs with 233 students on those buses. And this year, our numbers are up for non-public, we're up to 550 non-public students, 200 that we transport. 52 schools we go to this year, we'll be going to 54 next year. 19 routes for all of those non-public students. We are transporting quite a few McKinney-Vento students, we're up over 100 for that. So we do a lot of things, not just inside of our district, but outside of our district as well.
If I could just take a minute, Claudine, because
Yeah.
I was shocked at looking at the fact that there are 52 non-public schools we transport to. So I think when people are looking at like how our transportation puzzle works, they're thinking about our elementary runs, our middle school run, and our high school run, which obviously is the 6,000, almost 6,200 students we serve. But then when you think about going to 52 different schools, and then with McKinney-Vento up to 50 miles each way as required by federal law, and we're proud to do it, but that stretches the department, and that is so many more locations we're going to than even 10 years ago. Which just, with a similar number of drivers and a similar size fleet. So the puzzle that they do every morning to make this work is quite exceptional.
So for bus replacements, we are getting 5 more wheelchair buses for next year. Having the next group is 2035 deadline for zero emission buses. So we will be able to assist all of our students that will ride those buses. We will make it to the deadline for that. And then another 5 full-size and 4-passenger buses. I did note, I got a quote for an electric bus, a 74-passenger bus, that's $176,000. In an EV, that same bus would be about $470,000.
So I think as we think about the timeline as it currently exists, that anything that's not zero emission is supposed to be off the road by 2035, and the life of a bus that we want. If that weren't looming, we might say like, maybe we don't get quite as many buses this year. But when we look at it, by next year, we're past the point where we can buy the diesel buses anymore. And if we buy them this year, we're still gonna get a good 10 years out of them, but we're buying them for $176,000 instead of $470,000. So it's a lot in one budget, but it's also much more fiscally prudent because we're getting the same buses and they're, whatever, less than half the cost.
And the other piece of that is the wheelchair buses are not available in electric yet. So that's another piece of that puzzle. A little update, I wanted to update about Stop Finder. So we did roll Stop Finder out in August. We have 4,241 people that subscribe. And each subscriber can send it out to as many people as they want. So grandparents, babysitters. We have 12,000 people, almost 13,000 people that have subscriptions to Stop Finder and that can use the app. And Geo Alerts is over 5,000 a day. And what a Geo Alert is, it's a zone that you can set up in the app that the app will notify you when the bus enters that zone. So a lot of parents have it set up when the bus gets to school, they'll get a notification that the bus has arrived at school. Wayfinder, the installation in the buses for the Wayfinder has been completed. We have done our office staff training. Currently, our Southgate drivers are using the tablets. And we're going to be adding Raptor to those tablets as well.
Can you just explain to the board what Wayfinder is again? I think they understand.
It's the GPS tablets that read the route sheet directions, turn-by-turn directions to the bus drivers. And it also has a map on it too as well, so. it's very helpful, particularly for our substitute drivers that are not familiar and our new drivers as well that don't know the area as well. It's extremely helpful for them. We will be doing a training for the rest of the staff on Friday of this week. So we hope to start rolling them out more and more in smaller groups. We get everybody on board. So our budget requests is for a new maintenance truck, truck 524. It is a 2008 Ford that needs a lot of body work and it's lived its time. So we're ready to replace that. We're asking for a toolbox for that. We keep fluids, valves, screwdrivers, everything they need to assist a broken down bus on the road. And we're also asking for some portable AC units for our mechanics that will go into the bays where they are working to help cool them off when on really hot days. It does get extremely hot back there and, prevent any illnesses there. So our total for that is about $89,000. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I only have, I had no questions. I just, this is your first year on the job. And, I told you, privately many times, and I'll say it publicly, I am so pleased, we are all so pleased that you chose to take this job, this great responsibility. And, you're doing a great job. I was wondering how often you drive yourself. You often,
This year has been twice, this school year,
twice.
Wow. 2 times.
That's not bad.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know early morning phone calls.
Oh, right. Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
And you have a great staff, obviously, as well, so,
Thank you. I have a great staff, great support there.
and it is, it's really complex, as you just said. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Any questions from the community?
Did you, I can say this.
That's what they're.
Sam, I asked and you said no. Yes, Sam.
Remember saying no, I'm sorry. So I've asked in the past, and I would very much appreciate your take on it, on the amount of, or the difficulty or strain that it puts on your department, or the complications of handling all of the various private schools. Is that a major impediment to allowing us more flexibility with how we've handled our own students? I'm not sure if I'm asking the question right, but I've been given various answers in the past, and I'm very, very curious.
So we made some changes a couple years ago. So we used to have particular runs that just went out and picked up, and I'll just use St. Pius as an example. They went around the whole district, picked up St. Pius kids and went to St. Pius. A couple years ago, we changed that because of staffing issues. Now, all of our non-public students ride in on high school buses, and we do a big transfer at the middle school. So everybody gets off there, gets on their buses that will take them to their respective schools from there. In the afternoon, it's not as easy to do. So we do still do transfers. We bring kids from LaSalle, Woodland Hills to St. Pius in the afternoon. And then we do a second transfer, and we see Gregory kids, CBA kids, and Holy Names kids. So we do 2 transfers there, and we try to do that as much as we can because the kids are all over the district, and that helps shorten some of the ride times around down as well. Thank you. Julie?
Is Brian Kraft going to consider a superhero video for God's Unmaking?
Julie, we should have forewarned you. Pictures, videos, we great on every year. So happy to have Julie Scriven, our Director of Information Technology, going through our technologies.
Well, I am sad to say that I don't have any pictures, nor do I have any video this year, although I used to frequently have those. And I do also have some very maybe long and boring tables, which I am not going to go through every row of. In the interest of time, I'm pretty sure if any of you had children or pets last night around midnight, it might not have been the best night of sleep. And I am very cognizant that I am the third presenter on a long night, so I will try and move this along. But I do want to say that if there, at any moment, you're like, why didn't she talk about that? Like, raise your hand, stop me. I'm happy to talk about any of the items on the thing, but I will try and kind of just pick out the highlights in them. Okay, so without any further, I'm going backwards. Starting off in a bad way. Okay, so just a high-level overview of our department. I'm the Director of Technology. Keith Sprague over here is the Assistant Director of Technology. He is very excited to answer any detailed network questions you have. I'm waiting on bated breath over there. So he also has a dual hat of being our network administrator. If you have any questions for him, I will turn them over to him. I'm very excited to say that we now have a cybersecurity person, Isaac. We worked very hard to get him. He's been doing a fabulous job. He is not here tonight. He is in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day. So kind of exciting. But we also have 5 network and systems technicians. Each of them have their own specialty area where they're have an area of expertise. They are housed at high school, but they are kind of district wide. And then we have a senior technology assistant at the middle school, and then 5 building level computer technicians. One is in the high school, one is at the middle school, and we have 3 that are shared amongst our 6 elementary schools. So every year we like to show this slide, and Brian's reaction was really interesting to it. He's like, why are you going back to 2017? And I like to keep 2017 on the slide because for us, it was a really critical year. It's the first year that we started to go one-to-one. So that's the year that our department kind of took off in the number of devices we had to manage. So when you look at this chart, you see the Chromebooks ramped up steeply until we got kind of into COVID, then it leveled off because we, of course, were one-to-one by then. You'll see that the PCs steadily increased as we decreased the number of MacBooks and iMacs that we own. The iPads have kind of leveled out, phones have kind of leveled out. Our security cameras, I do anticipate every year for us to get a little bit more as we find more areas to cover. And then the TVs, you'll start to see a slow decline because we are starting to replace them with ViewSonic touch panels. And we have a number of TVs that will free up and roll down to positions where TVs get retired or broken, replacing with those that we've replaced with different things. Now I have a little bit of, I kind of need to be like the Debbie Downer of the evening, but we kind of have to talk about it. So technology prices are crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy right now, and it's very scary. We have done our very best on this budget to what we estimate now the cost for things are, but I am not sure even by July 1st that's going to be the case. There's a number of factors affecting this right now. The first is tariff and trade volatility. Even though that is kind of leveled out, nobody reduced the prices. They went up and they're just there. They're never going back downwards. So that was starters. And then AI-related shortages started happening. And they are affecting us all across the board. So for starters, Intel chips, memory, high-end graphic cards, which have memory built in on them, also a problem. When I put out this slide, only the solid-state hard drives were an issue, but now because they're in such short supply, the regular old spinning hard drives also are a problem. So just to give you an idea of what we're facing, a couple weeks ago, our vendors started sending us quotes that had 2-week expiration dates on them. So normally, back in the day, we'd get a quote around now, and July 1st, that same quote would be good. Now they're only saying 2 weeks. And then a couple days ago, it actually got worse. We had ordered some equipment, and I got this little nasty note in the mail that said, in my email that said, hey, I know we said that this was the price, But now we can't even, like, once you place the order, the price is still not really the price until we ship that part. We're not gonna guarantee the price that you ordered at. So that is really, really scary. And scary for a budget, but again, we're gonna do the best we can. On the software and kind of the service side, we have another couple factors influencing things. One is just the security and compliance overhead that we face. A lot of that is due to AdLaw 2D and our NIST compliance. Those are all really valid things. We really need to be doing those things. But it's meant that we had to add more layers of security on top of what we already have each year. And lastly, cloud-based software. Gone are the days where, you buy a piece of software, you put it on your computer and you kind of set it and forget it for a couple of years. With cloud-based, we're stuck every year. We have to pay that subscription fee. And if they decide to raise it, it's pretty difficult to pivot on a dime and pick something else. So all those things have been a factor. So let's start out talking about some of the things we're going to purchase. Network is kind of one of the easier ones to talk about. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. I'm kind of going at a high level. Most of our funds this year are going to go replace our Wi-Fi access, specifically in high school and middle school, upgrading those. We also have a large storage array, which is just like a giant hard drive for our VM environment that we need to replace. As we talked about the needs for compliance, we're going to be starting some pen testing this year, so you'll see that this year and in the coming years. And lastly, we are trying to get some emergency backup networking for all of our buildings. We have what's legally required, but we found that we need more than that. So in the event of an emergency, in the event that we lose power or somebody hits the telephone pole and the network goes down, or I'm gonna knock on wood and say that hopefully our construction crew won't get a cable underground. We need to keep the offices in those buildings and the nurse's office going. We found, the teachers can survive without technology. They can go back to the whiteboard and teach for the day, but we really need a basic internet connection for both the main office and the nurse. So the goal is to get something in place. It may be different in different locations based upon the availability of cell coverage and satellite coverage in those places, but that's a goal for this year. And then at the bottom, we always estimate, there's a federal program called E-rate that gives us about 50% aid back on what we spend on eligible purchases. So we try to use that first. And anything that we can't buy with E-rate, we then try and buy through BOE so we can get that. I'm going to stop for a second here just to see if anyone has any networking questions. And no? Okay. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to the really fun stuff. Okay, for starters, this also is an easy one. We talk about a replacement cycle. This is our Chromebook 1-to-1 replacement cycle. Every year we replace grade 1, grade 5, and grade 9. It's because in little kids' hands and even big kids' hands, even though a Chromebook technically could last longer, it really only lasts 4 years. By the end of 4 years, the battery and just the Chromebook itself from traveling back and forth to school is pretty rusty. So that's worked out the best for us. Kindergartners, every 4 years we replace those stay in the classroom. This thankfully is not one of those years, so just 1, 5, and 9. Plus a few for SPED, a few for staff. Those are mostly for educational aids, and then some for repairs. The second half of the replacement cycle, I promise you I will not go through all of these line items. There are a lot of them. This year is the year for a large portion of our labs to be replaced, so you'll see those all listed at the top. The total value though for instructional hardware in this category is about what we normally see. You'll notice there's a bunch of copiers at the bottom, some printers, some iPads, some of the more interesting things in the middle. We have some sensors they use for the labs in science, and those no longer will connect to a modern computer, so we need to replace those. So think like really back in the day, serial and parallel connections, we really need to replace those. And then on a more fun note, we have now had to putting a replacement cycle for robots for the innovation labs. Because little hands are on robots sometimes. And that's. Now we're gonna talk more fun stuff, because these are the additions. So that last slide was things that were needed to keep the status quo, just everything as we have it. These are new requests from departments around the district. So I also am gonna point out that this year, and we're gonna talk about this later in the presentation, but I was asked to kind of think about what things we might be able to use our Smart Schools Bond Act money for. We've kind of talked about that and kind of kick the can down the road every year, and I think it's time to really think about potentially using that money. So the first items there that are highlighted in yellow are all things that I think might be good candidates for Smart Schools. The first are some Cintiq art drawing tablets for our art labs, our two digital art labs at the high school. I'm recommending them from Smart Schools because we don't necessarily need them right away. We're trying to be forward thinking about these for a couple of reasons. One, for a number of years, we wanted to get these. They're the industry standard for people who are in the digital arts industry. For our kids who are going off to college for fine arts, it's what they're going to see in all the labs in college. So we really wanted to do that, but it's a fairly big number. But because of the AI shortages, we're a little bit worried about what's going to happen 2 summers from now. So right now in those labs, we have some very fancy, a PC 2-in-1 flippable tablet that they can draw on. So they see the image they're drawing, they draw right on it. It's very similar in some respects, but a little cheaper than the Cintiqs that we're proposing. But what we found out is they no longer need those anymore. The industry is no longer willing to put the higher end graphics cards in those 2-in-1 laptops. We are not going to be able to get them in here. So we're trying to prepare ahead. So I'm putting that on now, knowing that we're going to have to purchase it later. I think some of the other advantages of getting this is that it's platform agnostic. So if a year from now we decided to switch to Mac instead of PC, it would work with either one. So I do think it's a really good purchase and a smart purchase to do with Smart Schools. The next item are moving pads. They're sort of like a smaller cousin of the Cintiq. It's kind of like a very fancy iPad that they would like to use in their fashion design classes and some of their other art rooms. It's more shareable, more portable, so it could be in a cart moved from room to room. So we're also suggesting those to go to Smart Schools. And the last thing I'm pushing from this to go to Smart Schools is the replacement of some of our touch screens. So if you were here last year, you may have heard me talk about how we wanted to replace the TVs specifically in our elementary classrooms with the ViewSonic touch panels. We did a little less than half of them this year. We kind of pushed ahead for budgetary reasons, the other half. Those classrooms have TVs in them right now. The teachers have something they can use. And I feel like if we need to push something to Smart Schools, they still have something for the next year as we wait for those to come to use. Well, let's talk about a couple of the other things on this list, mostly because since I gave you some sad things, I'm going to give some really happy ones. A couple of things on there, you may have seen the Dash robots on the replacement cycle. The Dash launcher kit and the sketch kits are for the innovation labs, and they're really cute. The launcher kits are actually little catapults that you can program with the robots to throw little balls across, so very fun. And then the sketch kits are actually to be used on a whiteboard horizontally, and they have like a dry erase, different color dry erase markers, and the kids can program them to actually draw pictures on the whiteboard with the markers, so very fun.
Yeah, they think they're playing, but they're actually learning how to code.
Yes.
So we're sneaking it in while they just think they're playing.
So it's very cool and very, and one more big ticket item that I'll just kind of pause on this screen are the headphones for world languages. These are for
class sets. They're not for individual students to take home. And it's for use during a test where they're actually dictating into the microphone. If you can imagine if you were in a room with 30 other people and you're trying to take a test where it's recording your voice and everybody's sitting on top of each other, that noise canceling microphone is really important. So I do know that they're expensive, but they will stay in those classrooms, won't go home with students. I'm gonna take a pause here, just because we kind of went through all the instructional side. Anybody have any questions about instructional tech?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
The Chromebook price at $375, how sure are we?
We're not.
Okay.
In fact, a month ago, $375, 2 weeks ago, $400. Some of the other things that we're finding is that none of the manufacturers are putting Intel chips in their new models, which is sad because we got some samples and because the chips they're putting in there are things we've never heard of, MediaTek, like just weird off brands, and they're not as fast. So I do think we might have to limit the number of spares, we might have to adjust quantities to make it work. But we'll do the best we can and try to buy as quickly as we
I was
can.
gonna say,
just
can we
to before the
buy
price
sooner
even
rather
goes
than
worse.
later?
Yeah, so,
All of this information, with anything with a chip in it right now, is the best at the time that we have today.
Right.
We're gonna deal with the market as it comes at us at the time that we're ready to do the buying. It's just, up and down, it's just,
I think just as we look at this and as we process the budget, right, when the budget you pass usually has X amount of dollars. We will go through, obviously, there are some things on here that are more in the needs category and some things that are more in the wants category. We've kept the wants in, the best of the wants in, but are fully prepared if prices spike, we recognize that we have to get the needs first and some of the wants. Although right now, if everything stayed the same, we would get them, we may have to remove them and prioritize.
With the smart schools bond budget, how much is going to be left? I thought we had like
so
400.
you know what, I'm gonna hold your question on that because in about 2 slides,
Okay.
we're gonna talk about that.
Are we gonna talk about what we have to give to private schools as well?
Yes,
All right.
we are gonna
Hold
talk
that
about all of it. I
And then-
promise we will talk about all the smart schools. I think one more
I'll
slide,
come
I think
back
there's
to
some cameras and it'll sort of segue into that, so, but any more questions on this stuff? Any from,
I'm gonna ask a question. Do we really need so many Chromebooks? Does every student need a Chromebook? I am just asking, I think there's a lot of Chromebooks. But of course, as you know, Julie, I am from the film strip age. I am not, but there's a lot of Chromebooks. Now, Ms. Gills, am I asking an outrageous question?
You are not asking an outrageous question, and I think that is a conversation that a lot of people are having.
Yes.
And it's not so much for high school kids, obviously, but for the younger students who have a lot of screen time, and how are we best engaging them? And I do think that is a conversation that we want to have and think about, like, well, the future we have to prepare our kids for, of course, but also what makes sense for the kids who are in front of us. And so while we have it now to get the replacement cycle, I think you're maybe a year ahead of that question, so we have time to really vet that out and think about what does make sense. Because we don't want our kids over reliant on technology. There are lots of articles out there about questioning the use, particularly in the primary grades, of technology and ever-present technology for kids. You have countries like Finland who are saying, like, we're getting rid of it altogether, we're bringing back play and problem solving. And so you are not out of, I don't think you said out of line, but you're not out of hand in asking that question. It's a very relevant question right now. And I think it's something that we want to really engage with our families about, engage with our elementary principals about. What does make sense? Does it make sense just going back to having shared access to shared carts in the building where they don't have to go back and forth home all the time? Obviously, they became very necessary during the pandemic. Let's hope we're never back there again. So I think it's a very fair question. We built this budget to continue because we haven't had that conversation with our community yet. But I think it is a really good question to ask and really reflect on how are we using them? Are we sure that we're using them for the best ways? And do they all need one in order for us to use it for X, Y, and Z? And so I think we have to do a curricular audit and then make some recommendations.
Kathy, may I just add, because I
Yes,
think it's
please.
important in the elementary, from the elementary perspective, with our math and our ELA curriculum, which really takes up a substantial part of our day, up to 3 hours, we have had digital platform options, which we did not take. So our kids in math and reading and writing, it's paper, pencil, workbook. So again, that was a conscious choice because we did not want to spend our days with our K-5 students on the machines. So I just want to say that because again, that was an option. Many people have taken it. We have not in North Colony.
I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think we want to think about balancing. We know obviously the state has moved us in 3 through 8 to all computer-based testing. So we certainly don't want their first experience with the computers to be in 3rd grade when they're on the state
That
test.
is what I'm thinking.
So how do we balance that so they have some preparation, but they're not just in front of a screen? Because we all see how the impacts of that. And it starts going.
I should also clarify, I'm gonna put some air quotes around 1-to-1 in 1st grade. They do not take them home. We do assign them to the kids, but only because what we found is kids are much more likely to take care of the Chromebook they're using if they know they're stuck using that same one for 4 years. When we had just group shared cards where it was a free-for-all, they were very destructive because it was fun to try and rearrange the keys, and if it wasn't gonna be theirs later on and they didn't have to deal with it, they were like. And now that it's their own and it has their name on it, they're much better. So. Okay, so we will move on to cameras. And I will preface this by these are not all of the cameras we need. This is a small subset of cameras that are kind of separated because they are all in new locations where we fairly urgently would like to get a camera in place. So these have been identified by all of these particular buildings as places where we lacked coverage or the coverage just wasn't detailed enough. But we do have some more cameras, which I'm about to show you, that are less urgent. So this is kind of a good segue into what Sam wanted to talk about, which is smart schools. So I'm going to do a little bit of discussion for those of you who are new as to what smart schools is, but I promise I will be brief in the interest of time. So Smart Schools Bond Act was approved in 2014. The funds were basically for schools to modernize. And there were 5 categories you could spend money in. I'm not going to talk about all 5. I'll talk about the 3 that are important to us. First one is classroom technology. So think of anything that a teacher or student might use, teacher's laptop, the student's Chromebook, the board on the wall, an IPvo, those sort of devices. The next category was network connectivity. So if you think back to 2014, back in those days, we was not one yet. So the state wanted us all to prepare to get our Wi-Fi and our infrastructure ready, which we did. So that is another category. The third category is high-tech security. So these are things like hardening your windows and doors. It's also security cameras. Unfortunately, it is not security cameras on buses, which we would like to get, but can't with Smart Schools Bond Act. But we can buy regular security cameras and we can buy the infrastructure for security cameras. And much like we were talking about the tennis courts, believe it or not, next summer, some of the first cameras that we put in will be 7 years old and up for replacement. So a little over a year from now, we've got cameras that we need to replace and we have infrastructure for those cameras. So the servers that house all that footage also will need to be replaced. So that's a great category to use for smart schools because I'll remind you of the things at the top of the slide. The application for smart schools takes at least 9 months, literally over a year, sometimes a year and a half. So on a good day, I'm thinking maybe it'll take us a year to get approved. So we need to pick things that it's okay if they're not ready for a year. Because the other part about smart schools is you cannot spend a penny until you are fully approved. So it's not like E-rate where you can buy it and they'll refund you later. You can't spend any of it until they say it's okay. The other thing that I'll say about smart schools is technically those funds are not supposed to expire. But we're hearing some rumblings, and I'm a little bit worried that with the funding situation that could be happening with the state, that there's some possibility that maybe it will disappear. And we've got money left on the table and I don't want us to lose it. So what we talked about doing is to try and come up with items that we could live without for a year if we had to. Were smart schools eligible? And kind of go from there. And I'm gonna preface the next slide by saying this is not our smart schools plan. In fact, in order to put the plan in, we have to have a proposal, we have to put it out there for 30 days, there's a public hearing, there's all sorts of steps in the process. It's kind of just our straw man and what we think maybe we can use the money for, kind of an opening for the discussion. So let me talk first though about what we have left. Originally, we were allotted 1.8 million. In the first round, we bought network connectivity and some classroom tech, about a little over $835,000. The second round, we bought mostly classroom tech, I believe it was labs. We spent about $461,000, so we have $541 and $95. And here's what we were kind of doing about the budget. So that first one are those security cameras that are due to be replaced. We also have a subset of security cameras that aren't quite due to be replaced. They were bought during COVID when we couldn't get what we wanted. We had to just take what was available. So there are some outdoor locations where we'd like to replace those cameras and move the existing camera inside to a different location. All of those are ones that I think would be great things to buy with smart schools. Again, the infrastructure. Again, the touch panels, the Cintiq, the moving pads. One of the things that I probably should have discussed on the earlier slide is there are some differences in the categories for smart schools. So the one thing about buying classroom tech or network is that any money we spend in those categories, we are required to share in a loan to our non-public school districts within our geographic area. The proportion that we're required to loan to them, which doesn't have to be the same devices we get, they can pick whatever they want. But the dollar value is based on some enrollment statistics on beds day of 2015, which is kind of odd. Here to pick, but it's from 2015. So we've estimated that if we spend on the touch panels and the Cintiqs and the movings, which are in that classroom, that we will have to spend about $46,000. We'll lose that to the non-pubs, which I like to avoid, but I think given the time constraints, I think it's better to have something rather than potentially nothing, and share it. And for those of you who are seeing that $1,280 on the bottom line, I'm worried that I'm gonna leave something on the table. Don't worry. I have honed my skills at Chuck E. Cheese at the ticket counter. For any of you who have kids, I will make sure that the very, we'll down to the last piece of double bubble or Laffy Taffy, and we will spend every dollar. Just, we won't know until we get to our plan the exact cost of the items. So we're kind of putting rough estimates here, and by the time we get down, we'll try and spend every last dollar. That
Julie, the security cameras, do they include the 28 extra that you?
No, they're not in there. So we could put them in here, but it would mean that we might not get them for over a year.
Yeah.
It would be a good, I will say the thing I like about security cameras is that category is not shareable. So you, of that 28, we would not have to share with the non-pubs, so we could put that in. I think there was some concern that those items were cameras that people felt we kind of needed now. So people were a little hesitant to put that in smart schools, but we could pull that trigger if from a budgetary aspect. We could. So.
And the others, the infrastructure, is that the housing we're talking about?
Those are the servers that house the actual data, the footage of all of the video that we're storing. We store about, well, I should say that on camera. I won't say how many days, but we store a good number of days on our servers in-house.
And so I want to thank Julie for going back over this. I've had this worry for years about this smart schools money just disappearing and really thinking about, you know, as she always does with her replacement cycle, thinking, okay, so here's what we need for the upcoming year. What might we need a year out? Because we know we're going to need that lead time, not for us to get the application, but for their review team to get together, put it through all the steps, and then finally say, okay, you can buy it, and then the time it takes to purchase and then get it into the district. So we feel comfortable that if this took us until, you know, next August, we're okay with that because this is almost some of next year's budget, just thought about today to build in that lead time while the money's still there. Yes.
It's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of. I mean, and I know you have the expertise and you have the great experience, but boy, it's a lot of.
We inventory every single item, even the one under $500.
Question, but it's not related to this. Is instructional, you mentioned annual subscriptions or yearly subscriptions for stuff. Are we covering that on a different budget day or is that mostly, because I know a lot of that goes through BOCES.
It does. It goes through BOCES, and generally, it's not something that we present.
Okay.
Or have to do with text. But we do literally go every single solitary line item. I check and vet and verify that the numbers are correct, that we are still using that software, there's still a need for it. And new software has to go through an approval process to get purchased, so it's not that we're like going wild in the software world.
Do you know what we're spending on Google Classroom this year?
That is another one that is gonna hit us hard, and I don't off the top of my head, but I can certainly look it up in 2 seconds if I can boot up my laptop afterwards. The struggle we're having with Google this year is there's two portions for those of you that don't know. Google is not free for us and never has been. We pay on every Chromebook we buy, we pay a small fee to them for the Chrome operating system and the management system that we manage our Chromebooks with. It's about list price $38, but real street price probably we pay about $32 per Chromebook. And then in the past, they've had various models for how much we pay for our student and staff licenses. It started off free, because of course all software is like that, come on in, the water's warm. And then once we're all hooked, then, hey. So we used to not have to pay for all of our staff. So in the past, we were able to say, okay, these are the only staff members that actually have a computer, so they're the only ones we're gonna have to pay for. Google has significantly changed their model this year, and they're requiring us to buy licenses for pretty much everyone. It's, I don't want to quote it, so I'm gonna go back. I feel like it's 6 a person, which gets significant for us because we have a lot of staff and a lot of subs and bus drivers and people that aren't on a computer every day, but now we're gonna have to pay for. Some of them, there is a license that we might be able to use. There's a lot of confusion about that now, about whether or not we'll be able to use this special Keynote only license and we will be able to use it. So we're all kind of getting clarification on that. So it's a little bit murky. I put a number in there that if we had to buy for everyone, we're covered. I am hopeful that there's about 900 people that will be able to get the Gmail only license for. Fingers crossed. But that just came out this spring, the new changes to it. And in fact, there's some changes also about storage. If you go over certain amounts that you're storing on Google, we have to pay for that too. So.
Anything from our community?
Thank you, Julie.
Can I go to the next?
There you go, Leslie.
Oh, I thought there was like a,
Nope, you're good.
oh, okay, never mind.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There. I just wanted to also thank Julie, Linda, you just said that there's so much. Obviously, we have so much to maintain in terms of equipment, in terms of our network, and then layer on the responsibility for ensuring that all the products we buy meet safety and security requirements, which Julie and her team take very seriously. And, just like in our home lives, with every passing day, there's some new cyber threat. They're always getting smarter, they're getting more clever. Julie and her team are monitoring it. When those things do happen and get through, that team moves so swiftly to shut it down. We have been very fortunate that there's a level of expertise there that is just another layer that got added onto that department. And we are very grateful for them because they have helped us through many small things and are also really doing a lot with constant, continuous, I guess is probably a better word, training of people and letting people know, like, here's the latest scam that's out here, here's what it looks like, please be careful. That is now an emerging and growingly important part of the job. Isaac's been a great addition to the team, and I think the work that they do is so all encompassing. And all we have to have is a power outage when we realize, like, oh my gosh, we can't function right now. And so thank you, Julie, for a great presentation, but for all the work that you and your team do as well. So that concludes our presentation for tonight from our instructional support teams. Our next budget meetings will be about new program requests, staffing, again, looking at our enrollment before the board moves forward at the end of the month to adopt the budget. We will be adopting it at the end of March because we have an early April break. And so in order to get our timelines, we have to get it in before that April break. So we will be working toward an adoption of the budget on March 31st. We're gonna squeeze it right in before the April break. And then we'll have our hearing in early May with our election vote on May 19th. Thanks to the team for their hard work with putting together a very responsible budget.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Thank you. And I think that's it. I think we can go home. We can go home. Job well done, everyone. Job well done.
No. Good point that Mrs. Gargalo just made. After this meeting, the subsequent meetings will be at the middle school auditorium, but we'll announce that when we have the high school meetings, but we moved to the middle school auditorium.
Thank you all.